Welcome to Python Basics with EJD. In this video, I'll be looking at Python productivity tools, and I think it's a very nice way to bring this playlist to a close, except if there is a request from someone who wants maybe a package in their field to be to be uh to be looked at, to be reviewed or something like that. But barring that, this is the last video in this series. It's been a very interesting journey looking at Python. I didn't know it would come this far. This is like the 60th video in that series, in the playlist for Python Basics. So I believe that if you can go through this from the very beginning till this point, you're set up to be an excellent Python user for whatever you may want to be using that for. For me, I'm more interested in things like scientific computing, using NumPy, using SciPy, using SymPy. Then I'm interested in data analysis using uh, pandas for data analysis, and of course, data visualization tools like Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, Bokeh, Altair, Plot9, and so on and so forth. These are data visualization tools. Then I'm of course interested in machine learning, where I get to use scikit-learn, TensorFlow, Keras, and of course PyTorch, right? Um, so having done this so far, I've also picked interest in natural language processing using Hugging Face Transformer, and of course I have a bit of liking for computer vision when I explored what's that now? OpenCV. Yeah, open computer vision, so to speak. So yeah, so having done all of that, and I think it's very nice to talk about some. In the last video, we had talked about testing and debugging. So if you want to master testing and debugging in Python, I mean, officially, you want to do that. Of course, many different people have their different ways of testing and debugging. Like I have mine already, but knowing that you can use unit test, PyTest, and Python debugger, PDB, that can actually be helpful too. So in this video, we're looking at Python productivity tools, just like I said. Let's go for it now. So the purpose of so here now we have Python productivity tools, and we just jump straight into it. So Jupyter Notebooks and IPython help us a lot. So you discover that if you want to, I can save this file in many formats. For instance, I come here, for instance, and I could say, you see IPYNB, that's IPython notebook, and then this is regular Python notebook. So um that's the idea. So Jupyter Notebooks and Python and IPython, these are some productivity tools for Python. The purpose is they provide an interactive computing environment for writing, testing, and documenting code, and they are useful for data analysis, prototyping, and teaching. Now, because I'm a teacher, I do a lot of teaching, be it maths or whatever. And the beautiful thing about Jupyter Notebooks and IPython is the fact that I can write my code, I can write my explanation, I can plot my graph, I can write equations and everything all in one place. So it's really very good. So you can, and then the beauty of this is that you can see what you're doing immediately, right? Like more like real time. So you don't have to write 1,000 line of code before you can begin to see what they are doing, right? So that really makes for productivity. So talking about key features now, Jupyter Notebook has interactive cells for code and markdown, like we've been using a lot. Then Jupyter Notebook has rich outputs. The interesting thing is that Jupyter Notebook, the first time I started using Jupyter Notebook, I started using it in Anaconda, right? And then you open it on a local host and everything. But during this playlist, I really dared myself to explore Google Colabs, and it has been such a beautiful experience in that things I couldn't do with the local hosting I'm able to do here. I can easily convert all my notebooks to Python. I can upload data sets. I can upload data set directly, while in session here, like by using that left button. I think, yeah, by using this file thing, so you can easily upload data set into the system, by using this, and many advantages like that. So I was able to work a lot with PDF documents. You can merge PDF, split PDF. I think I have a playlist on that talking about PyPDF. So it's really cool. I think I like that. Then it has rich outputs where you can have tables, plots, and LaTeX equations, just like I said the other time. Then it has extensions like Jupyter Lab. I've not used Jupyter Lab before. Maybe there's need for it one day soon. I can explore that. Then you have NB extensions for productivity. Now, one thing I've discovered in this whole data journey is that the more you know, the more you discover you can know more, right? Like you can so when you're starting out, it feels a bit scary, but when you get on it, as you know a bit more, you can see that, oh, I can know this other one. And then before you know it, you are becoming very strong, very versed in the whole thing, right? Then there's IPython, which gives enhanced interactive Python shell, and it has features like tab completion, inline help, magic commands like percent time it, percent matplotlib inline. I've used that a lot, especially with Google Colab right here. Okay, so an example of this is what we have here. In Jupyter now, you have import numpy as NP, import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. Then you now define your X. X is from 0 to 10 with 100 equal line spacing, so to speak, equal divisions. And then you have Y. So you have NP.sin X, right? And then you want to plot X against Y and you label it sin X. So you have your legend and, plot show. And you just run this and you get this kind of thing now. So this is IPython, so you can just do it you can just do your plot straight up like that. Then there's code formatting and linting. So why do code formatting and linting matter? So it improves code readability and maintainability, helps enforce consistent style across teams, and detects potential bugs early. So that's what code formatting does. So yeah, for tools you can use for code formatting and linting include Black, which is automatic formatter. So it is opinionated minimal configuration runs like it runs like my file.py. Then Flake8, which is for style and lint checker. So checks against PEP8, flags unused imports, long lines, and so on and so forth. So if you have unused imports that might be taking up space, this can flag it for you. Then you have Pylint for advanced linting, which assigns a code quality score, and it is customizable. It has customizable rules for large projects. A very good example, imagine this now. So you format code with black. So you have exclamation black my script.py. Then you check code with Flake8. You have exclamation Flake8 my script.py, and then you run Pylint like that. So if you run this now, okay, so it tells you black command not found because we actually don't have this my script. But then maybe I can make AI help us do just write my script. Okay. Let's see how we can get that done. So that's another advantage of Google Colab, right? You have AI right here. You don't have to go anywhere. So write write my script.py. Okay, so we can actually see how these things work. Let's see if it's get able to get that done. Yeah, so it has written something for us. So we can just run it and see how it goes. Yeah, done. So it has helped us to write my script. Yeah, so I've created my script file. Now I can demonstrate how to use Blackflake. Okay, nice. So I can copy this out now, delete this right here. Then I go before my script thing. So I create a code here, put this here, run this, and then I can now do this my script thing. So which will connect to, oh, it's still saying command not found. Okay, so still saying command not found. Interesting. So with that, I just want to go on then. So if you're interested more in that, you can explore. So we have project organization and version control with Git. GitHub is a very uh nice place to document codes and everything. So project organization best practices, we have directory structure, for a project. So you have the project, whatever the project is called, then you have your data, your notebooks, your SRC, then you have double underscore, double underscore dot py, You have test slash front slash, and you have requirement.txt and readme. So readme is where you write all the what the code is doing or what exactly whatever you're designing is all about, maybe a software or anything. So that's where you document all of that. Then you have virtual environments, e.g. VENV, Conda to manage dependencies. You have documentation using readme.md or Sphinx. Then you have version control with Git, so you can track changes in code and collaborate effectively. Yeah, you can host projects on GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, and then you have a common workflow for the Git thing now. So Git init, Git add, Git commit. Yeah, I've not really explored Git myself, so maybe that's one thing I want to explore in the future, and maybe with a kind of workflow like this, maybe this can help. So initialize a repository backslash exclamation Git init, stage and commit changes exclamation git add. I think there's a dot somewhere, and then exclamation git commit dash m initial commit, create and switch branch, exclamation git checkout dash b feature dash new dash analysis, merge changes. You have exclamation git checkout main, exclamation git merge feature new feature dash new dash analysis, then push to remote. You have exclamation git remote add origin. So github.com user repo.git, then exclamation git push dash u origin main. You have this kind of workflow for Git. So and it tells you all these plenty stories. Fail to push some refs to, I mean, because I'm actually not doing anything in particular, I just run the code, right? So how do you put all of these things together, all these productivity tools? How do you put them together? So putting it all together, so use Jupyter for exploratory analysis. Then apply black Flake8 Pylint to maintain clean, bug-free code. Then organize your project structure for scalability, right? Then manage versions and collaboration with Git. Then this workflow ensures productivity, collaboration, and professionalism in Python projects. So, I mean, a standard Python project would be like maybe writing a software or things like that. For me, I get to do data analysis. So, maybe I may not have to go all the way with all this. All right. But I mean, if you're a developer and all that, so this can really be useful for you. And with this, I come to the end of this interesting video. And by extension, the end of this long playlist with 60 videos. Interesting. Data science. So I have data science with EJD. That's also 60 videos. Interestingly, if you are interested in data, the whole data career, like maybe you just want to take up data, maybe you're a totally new person, I recommend, first of all, you can, so let me go to my channel on my YouTube channel that is, so I recommend that you go for, so if you're starting out fresh, so so you want to check playlist, and once you get to playlist, what you want to do is you can start out if you are totally new to data stuff. So you can start with Microsoft Excel. So after Microsoft Excel, that's 45 videos. So that's a lot. So and make sure you don't just watch the videos. Make sure you're practicing along. So once you're done with Microsoft Excel, the next thing you want to do is jump to this Python basics that I'm just completing. It's going to be 60 videos by the time it's all done. So after Microsoft Excel and you want to continue, so go to Python basics with EJD. Once you're done with Python basics with EJD, then you can jump to data analysis with Python. Once you're done with that and you still want to move on, you can go to SQL with Python. So, I mean, you can stop at any point you like, you can just do Microsoft Excel, Python. Of course, if you want to do anything with Python, so this is important, then I recommend at least Microsoft Excel with EJD, Python basics, and then do data analysis with Python. If you don't want to go further, that's fine. So you can with these three, you can already become a data analyst. But if you want to take it further, you want to do database management, you can go to SQL with Python. If you want to go further to maybe to data science, machine learning, you can go for this data science with EJD. But of course, sometimes it's important to have some background. Like you may need to understand statistics. You may need to, so you have statistics. Sometimes the graph and network theory may be necessary. Sequences and series may be useful. Numerical analysis, linear programming may be useful. Then maybe calculus, scientific computing may also be necessary. You may need to know some calculus. In fact, matrices, if you want to get some theoretical background, so matrices and calculus can be really useful. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you want to, if you're picking up data analysis and you're starting from the very scratch, start with Microsoft Excel. Once you're done with that, move to Python basics, which is this playlist I'm just completing now. Then if you want, then if you want to go on, you move on to data analysis with Python. You can stop there, but if you're interested in going further, you can do SQL with Python, and then you can do data science with EJD. And with that, you can already begin. I mean, because there are ample, I actually did some practical things. So you can already begin to test your hands on things. You can take little projects from people and help them out. And from there, you can get confident. And then before that, you can build a portfolio where, as far as I'm concerned, this my YouTube channel is more like my own data career portfolio. So I can easily just, if I'm going for a job interview in the area of data analysis, for instance, I can just drop my YouTube, my playlist that are related to data science or to anything data. I can just aggregate them and just share, and people can see what I've been doing all along. So that's really recommendable. Thank you so much for listening. If you're not subscribed already, of course, you know that you'll be missing out a lot. So why not just go ahead and subscribe? After doing that, hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. Having done that, you can actually become a member of my channel. So to become a member of this channel, you just click on join. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. In this case, I guess I have to use another, I need to use another, let's say, let me use this one now. So if you do this and uh go to Google, I mean go to YouTube. So I mean this is me here. If you don't have it, you can just type my name, Imane Dansu. So if you click on join here, so you see you can become a EJD bronze. You can have EJD bronze access. You have that. You can have silver access. So with bronze access now, you have loyalty badges next to your name in comments and live chat. You can have priority reply to my comments. So if you're a member of my channel, and I have many people talking on the comment, I can reply you faster. And then we can connect on social media. Then for the silver, you can have early access to you have all the benefits of bronze, but plus early access to new videos. So some videos you get to see them before others. Then you can have I can even give you a shout out like to members of my channel. You can have photos and status updates, member only videos. So some videos are only for members. Uh, I may make short videos. Then access to my PDF mathematics notes on request. So if you need any of my PDF notes on the any math topic, or if I right now because I use Google Colab now, if you need PDF documents of of anything I teach, at least in recent times, you can get them on request for sure. All right. So, and the gold access is the biggest right now. So with all the everything, so the gold access people will get whatever the bronze people are getting and the silver people. In addition, we can actually so you can get one-on-one consultations. That's like the biggest level. So we can actually have scheduled time to maybe explain some things I've done on the channel that you need some clarity on and things like that. We can have sessions maybe to explain some mathematical or coding concepts or things like that. So you want to avail yourself this opportunity so that we can build this community together, right? Ultimately, don't forget to comment, like, and share so that more people can have access to this to the great content I have going on this channel. Until I come your way again, keep doing Python right. Well, I just remember I got a brainwave that I feel like along the line I'm going to be doing some very small and easy projects on Python. So I think I'll call it Python Fun Project. So it's going to be another playlist where I just do very cute things with Python, like maybe times table or removing watermark from a picture and very sweet things like that. So watch out for all of this. Be sure to subscribe, share with others so that they can become part of this channel because there's a whole lot to learn. Bye.